It all began with this photograph. After the publication of his first book on UFO research called Missing, Bud received this picture from Kathy Davis of Indianapolis. Kathy claimed that the circle and strip of dead grass had appeared in her yard after she had seen a UFO in the area, and she wondered if the damage had been caused by a UFO taking off and landing. Oddly, she also mentioned that both she and her mother had similar scars, and neither of them could remember the causes. Her curiosity opened a floodgate of revelations. Under hypnosis, Kathy recalled not just the terrifying events of the night she mentioned, which culminated with her abduction, but several other close encounters that had occurred throughout her life. At the age of 7, she had apparently become an unwilling participant in a long-term genetic experiment. Kathy remembered none of this consciously. Hypnosis revealed that a sample of flesh had been removed from her leg during that first abduction by an alien creature she described as having a large head with huge black eyes. Now, if Kathy were the only person describing these encounters, one would be inclined, as she did herself, to doubt her sanity. But these drawings have been done by dozens of different people from various locations claiming similar experiences. Now, over the course of many hypnotic sessions, the purpose of these abductions became clear. Kathy had an ova removed from her body and was eventually shown a hybrid child, apparently part human, part alien. She was told that she was the mother, but could not keep the child. Obviously, this revelation, whether real or imagined, was devastating to Kathy. She has never publicly told her story before because of the ridicule that it would cause. In fact, Bud used a pseudonym for her in his book. Now she has agreed to talk and to use her real name. Meet Debbie Tomey, the real Kathy Davis. Welcome. I want to tell you something, and I told you this story earlier, and I will say this publicly. I used to fly a helicopter for a living. I used to spend a lot of time about 2,000 feet off the ground. It occurred to me one day that, gee, you know, I'm up here. I've probably got a really good chance of seeing a UFO. And I started to look for them. And I was 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, and I would look through the skies. And suddenly one day I realized, wait a minute, if I see this thing, and I go on the radio, and I tell everybody, they're going to think I'm crazy. And I'm going to have to go through my life trying to defend this, and I don't want that. And I consciously stopped looking. And I have to tell you, Debbie, that I admire your courage, and I've spoken with you, and I think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to come out and do what you're doing. And I know this is your first appearance, and you've decided that you're going to use your own name, and you're going to come out, and you're going to deal with this. And you tell me that you made this decision a little while ago when you were at a conference in the U.S. somewhere.
Yes, when I was first asked to be on the conference and talk, I didn't want to do it. And after I thought about it for a while, I just felt like I had to do it. I had to do it because I knew there were a lot of people out there that had experienced things and had memories of things they didn't understand and felt uncomfortable with them. And I knew that the other people who had talked to me about it and shared their stuff with me helped me to feel better about a lot of things, so I thought I could help somebody else. And then I thought, if what good is it going to do me if I hide behind this name?
Right. And it's basically, you said it's their problem. This is your story. You don't have to believe this. You're not here to sell anything. It's just your story.
That's right.
Now, when we were talking about this, you still, and you've been through a lot, you refer to these as dreams. You still, in your own mind, fight with this experience.
There are some parts of it I don't have any problem with. It's very easy for me to say, yes, I believe that there's got to be some other kind of life somewhere else, and I know what I've seen and what my mother and I saw together. Nobody can tell me I didn't see it. They weren't there, and I know what I saw. If you don't believe me, that's
your
too
problem.
Bad.
Right.
But there are things that I do have problems believing, accepting.
What do you have problems with? The hardest part for you is?
Well, the hardest part for me is when I got pregnant. Because when I got pregnant, I assumed that I got pregnant by the man that I was going to marry. And I still think I did. I don't, it's just a tug of war inside of me. And I was just like any other woman that got pregnant and then lost a baby. It hurt all the same, But the circumstances under which I lost it were unusual, to say the least. And that's why I kept it to myself for 7 years after. My mother knew that I had been pregnant and then wasn't pregnant.
So you're pregnant, you're suddenly not pregnant, and what happened to this child was, at least your dream recall is, that you were abducted and the child was taken from you.
The day that I woke up, and the first thing that came to my mind when I woke up that morning was, I'm not pregnant.
This is after an abduction experience, a dream experience.
Well, yeah. I'm not pregnant. And then I got up and went to the restroom, and there was a little bit of spotting. But I still continued to say I wasn't pregnant. I also felt that I had had a baby girl. And
in a subsequent abduction, when you went through one of these dream experiences, you were shown a child. And this child you recognized, but it's part human and it's part not human. It
didn't look real good.
How old would this child have been when you saw her?
About 3 or 4.
As a woman, understand, Debbie, I mean, women understand. I mean, you're telling the story, I'm thinking of my son or my daughter, and one understands as a woman the tremendous loss that is implied here. But this experience in your family is not only you. Your mom went through this, you went through this, your older sister went through this, you read this man's first book, you write to this man, and I'm putting myself in your position because I know that I would be saying to myself, Deanie, you're crazy. You just got to forget this because there's something gone a little wrong. You don't want to tell anybody because maybe you're just coming apart internally, right? So we'll keep this real quiet?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was reading his book that gave you that little step forward.
Well, actually, it wasn't reading his book. It was the last episode, or whatever you want to call it, that left a mark in the yard. I had to live with looking at that thing every day, and when I did, every time I did, I'd remember things. A lot of the things that I remember, I didn't need hypnosis to remember. Things that go way back till I was really little.
Okay, your abduction started at what age? Your dreams started at what age of being abducted?
The first time I went to Detroit and I was missing all day and they couldn't find me, I was, I think, like between 6 and 7.
And how many times has this happened to you now up to present time? How many experiences have there been?
6 or 7.
Probably a few more than that, actually.
Okay, now you don't know whether or not this is going to happen to you again. I mean, you sit here now, and you don't know. You have to live with this, that this dream may come back again.
Yep.
This is not a comfortable thing to have to live with, Debbie. I mean, I keep trying to put myself in your shoes, and this would, what do you do for reassurance? How do you keep it together, Debbie? How do you just keep going here?
Well, I'm sitting here. I got all my arms and legs. I'm alive,
And that's okay.
Also, when we put people together with other people in a support group who have been through these experiences, and a person can sit there in a room full of people who all seem normal and happy, relatively speaking, you feel better about yourself, you have less self-doubt, and I think that Debbie's certainly been a wonderful addition to a support group that we have in New York, and I think that's been rich, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I'm lucky because it involved my entire family, half of the neighborhood we lived in. I mean, it wasn't just me.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would help a lot if it was...
It really helps a lot that my family has seen it, all the strange stuff and everything. So.
Just one last quick question, because, as I smile when I think about this. Okay, so Debbie meets this wonderful man, and you married this man subsequently, right? And he doesn't know anything about it.
Sure, he knew everything about it.
Well, but when did you, there was a time at which he didn't know, and you had to say, listen, honey, there's just something I think you ought to know about me.
Well, when I met him...
And I would really like to have seen his face, Debbie.
He already knew me and loved me just for what I was, and knew that I wasn't a liar or a cheat, so when I told him my fears and what things that were happening as we were going together, he just accepted it. He was supportive of me.
You're a lucky woman. I know you do a lot of work with families and the problems that are attendant, and we'll talk about that, because just imagine that this has happened to you. You wake up, you want to talk to somebody, and you say to the man or woman beside you, honey, guess what happened to me last night? If you were that husband or wife, what would you do? We're back in a moment.